We've seen some decent improvement from Bub Carrington over the last week or so. Let's break it all down. Let's figure out what's led to him playing better and why this serves as a reminder to not give up just yet.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you are locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. We just want to let you know that if you're an everydayer out there, let us know in the comments that you watch the channel every day, because we appreciate you that much more. Alongside the DC sports content creating savant Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober, and I cover the Washington Wizards for Roundtable IO. AB, how's it going?
Doing good. Wizards Spurs coming up. We're talking about Bub Carrington today, a guy who I think deserves a lot more respect from how he's been playing recently. He's been playing a lot better compared to early on this year, and I still think he can be a key contributor for this team down the line.
Yeah, I want to break down his performances as of recently, because steadily he's kind of paved the way for himself to earn the actual minutes that he should have been playing from the start, because there were a lot of points throughout this season where he's playing super high minutes, but he's not playing very well, and everyone is saying, Bub doesn't deserve to be out there right now. Bub shouldn't be out there playing in this situation. He's playing 38 minutes, and for what? It seems like it's just making us lose. And, to an extent, the Wizards are welcoming those results right now, but they're also trying to develop Bub. They're asking him to do something completely different, and that's why it continues to be brought up by Coach Keefe, by Will Dawkins, by really anybody that you talk to around the building about Bub Carrington and his development. It's just how different and how difficult learning the point guard position is for a guy at 20 years old. And amongst combo guards this year, the numbers are down compared to what they were last year, especially in terms of his assist to usage rate, which is your rate compared to usage. How often did a player get an assist given how much they had the ball? He was in the 90th percentile last year. He's down to the 66th percentile this year. But I think that's because the usage rate has gone up just a tick for him this year by around 2%. But in these situations where you see Bub Carrington early on in the season, he's struggling by turning the basketball over plenty. That's gotten a little bit better over the last couple of games. In his last four, every game except for one of them, he had just one. He had three against Cleveland. One of them was kind of bogus, if I remember. I think it went right off somebody's hands and out of play, and he gets dinged with the turnover for that one. But he's taken better care of the basketball ever since that game against Philadelphia where he had four. And even if you just look back at his game log from November, he went through a really brutal stretch. Let's see how many games this was here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, where he had three turnovers, then he had another three, then he had five, then he had another three, then he had two, then he had another five, and then he had another three. So he went through a really brutal stretch where he was just struggling to handle the basketball. And ultimately that made his offensive game as a whole dwindle down to a point where you say, what happened to the guy that we saw last year that operated like a really smooth operator in the mid-range game? That part of him has kind of come back in a way, because I think he's handling the ball pressure a little bit better now. AB, what have you noticed about him as of late?
I think the idea of Bub Carrington being better suited as a combo guard role rather than a point guard, that's something that we talked about going into the season, and it's true. It's a valid statement. It's hard playing the point guard position. It's a very difficult position to develop at, and last season, alongside Jordan Poole, Bub was thriving, played all 82 games, all rookie second team. This season, that just really hasn't been the case. And we always allude to the fact, Ben, losing a family member, Bub Carrington, affects you mentally. And the hate that he was getting, I just think it was crazy, the fact that some Wizards fans wanted him to be sent in the G League, assigned to the G League. I just think that's dumb. It hinders a young guy's confidence. And was the performance poor? Of course, we'll call it out. But you got to give it some time. A young guy who we saw the flashes of last season, like I mentioned. And I think you mentioned, in the previous episode, how he's looked better with Will Riley and Jameer Watkins on the floor. Maybe that does make a difference. Maybe some guys being out, he plays better alongside these types of players compared to the other players on this roster. But Bub Carrington, I think, alongside maybe a future point guard here in DC and Darren Pearson, you can probably see a very good Bub with that mid-range shot. The playmaking, it's still there at size 6'4", 6'5". Defensively, can give you some good minutes. I think the way the Wizards are handling the situation, I like it. I remember Bill Dawkins and the Junkies said that it's not he's not struggling, he's just learning, and those are two different things. This is I think it was 27. Who was it against, Ben? Was it Cleveland, right? Yeah,
Yep.
well, yeah. So like you mentioned, yeah, Cleveland, and those are the flashes that we saw from last season, and I think he can build on it, especially in the second half of the season. And as a ball handler, that tight handles the turnovers again. That's obviously like you're gonna point that out, but you gotta learn from it. And the best thing about this Wizard squad in general is that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them because like, this team is not competing, and only giving a young guy 10 to 15 games in his in his sophomore season is just it's blasphemy. And I think the plus minus it was concerning, Ben, like the worst plus minus in NBA history, but there's a lot of records that are going against us, the Wizards in general right now. So don't point out one guy and say, "Oh, we suck because of this guy." Don't get me wrong. If Bub Carrington's playmaking gets to that level, then the other Wizards on this team will thrive off of him. But let's be patient. The Bub Carrington experiment, 20 years old, don't jump off the ship just yet.
He's getting better at the skills he needs to develop to play point guard in the future. Whether or not he becomes the team's lead guard is up for debate, and obviously, like the Wizards will have a big decision to make in the draft, depending on where they're picking. If you go after a guy like Darren Peterson to fill that void, or if you get somebody else, if you trade for somebody. I know we had the Garland bogus rumor that was out yesterday, but even if you do get like Boozer or DeBonsa or something like that, maybe the Wizards look elsewhere to upgrade at point guard, and you have Bub as your combo guy that comes off the bench. One thing I've noticed with him in terms of his playmaking ability, the way I've seen him improve, he's just getting better at making the necessary reads, operating out of the pick and roll, because the Wizards are such a read and react type of offense that when you see them work in the pick and roll, like you have to make a very quick split-second decision, notice when a double is coming your way, and I think at times Bub struggled to recognize where the defense was heading, reading the coverages, and seeing what was given to him. I think over the last couple weeks he's doing a much better job at taking what the defense is giving it to him. And sometimes even on these little slip screens that you see from Marvin Bagley, the roll will happen like that, and the snap of a finger, and you got to get him the ball instantly, because if you wait too long, somebody's going to come over from the help side and deny it or pick the pass off, which was happening plenty when he was out there with SARR or Bagley, whatever he was doing in the second unit as well when he was not starting for this Wizards team. He's getting better at reacting to what the defense is providing him and how he should manage it, like run the floor. Like you see that floor general aspect to his game, especially in the loss against Atlanta, in the loss against Cleveland. He had 9 assists compared to just 1 turnover against Atlanta. That was his best game as a point guard by far. 8 assists, 3 turnovers, so not as great in the turnover department as I mentioned earlier on in the episode, but that was great to see him make those improvements as well. Another thing that sticks out about Bub Carrington, which very quietly flew under the radar for so long because of how low his normal field goal percentage was, but the dude's shooting 42% from 3 this year. He's been a great three-point shooter, and the sample size is certainly big enough to say, like, this is who he is as a three-point shooter, especially for this year. He's 40 of 97, so he's nearly at that perfect 100 mark to get, like, the perfect percentage. So that's kind of who Bub Carrington is. If you get him an open catch-and-shoot look, there's a good chance he's going to knock it down. I really like to see him when he comes in rhythm down the floor, catches while he's in transition, and just elevates right away for the three. That's the best way you can see Bub Carrington play, is playing in rhythm, getting that mid-range shot when he's kind of in motion. That's a real strength to his game, and the way he shot the basketball also tells me a lot about where I think his future is going, because if he has that shooting ability, I think he's going to be a pro for a long time. I think he's going to have the ability to score at a high level, whether it's off the bench or starting for this team, for many years, because he's going to be a reliable knockdown shooter that can score at multiple levels. Maybe not all 3 yet. He's got to get better at getting to the rim, but he can get it done from the outside. He can get it done from the mid-range. That's important for your game.
And it kind of reminds me of the Trey Johnson role, Ben, being a combo guard that can shoot it from the outside. And yeah, I like that you mentioned that, because everyone was just pointing out his poor performances, but wasn't talking about the silver lining, which was his three-point shooting percentage. And remember, this is a kid that the Bull Dawkins organization, or the team and the organization in general, have so much faith in, because they traded a key piece here in DC. We all thought Denny was going to get the keys here, but they were like, no, we have so much faith in this kid coming out of pick the ACC was a dog from the Baltimore area. I think if you give him some time and hopefully with the right point guard here, because we saw glimpses of last year with Jordan Poole, and Jordan Poole was taking a lot of shots, but if you bring in a pure point guard here that can spread the ball, Bub Carrington, getting to the rim definitely needs to get better, and we're hoping to see more of him. But the pick and rolls, the ability to be so quick with the passes, like you said, that's something that few, at least young guys, can get used to and so early in their career. And who knows at the point guard position? We're always going to be talking about who's going to be that pure one here. But whoever that guy is, I know 100% sure he's going to elevate Bub Carrington's game.
Yeah, one other aspect to his game I wanted to see improve upon was get to the free throw line, but that just kind of comes with the standard of getting to the rim more. His average for free throws per game is at 1.1 right now, which I believe is pretty much exactly the same as it was last year, so not much improvement there. As a free throw shooter, actually at 70.4%, so he could be a little better in that department. It's just 27 total free throws on the season, so not like a ridiculously large sample size or anything like that, but just another thing to kind of think about and observe with Bub as he continues to move forward. I think this recent stretch of basketball, you've seen him get his confidence back in a way that we didn't see early on in the season. I just always allude to maybe it was the first Cleveland game, and let me look in the game log real quick to see how he shot that game, because I think it was pretty bad. Yeah, he was 2 of 12 from the field in that game. He had probably one of the worst shooting games of his career at that point. Was 2 of 7 from behind the arc. He made a 3 late in that game, and after he did it, he put his hands to the sky and was like, thank you. I needed to see one go in. That was just the confidence kind of lacking from Bub at that point in the season. And I think we're starting to see the confident Bub Carrington come back in a way that we saw toward the end of last year. So I got a lot of high hope that the rest of the season we're going to see a much improved version of Bub Carrington compared to what we saw early on in the year. Let's take our first break. We'll continue this conversation when we come back. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in. To take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is an all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. And Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save me hours every week. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts at any time gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. Get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNBA. The whole Bub Carrington debate has been so fickle throughout the season because you have a big portion of the fan base that sees no wrong in the guy, that everything he does is golden, and we preach that he's going to be a star or whatever. I think you can be impartial in this situation and understand that he struggled. There have been plenty of games that have been not good for Bub Carrington. But that's kind of what you expect for a player that is developing and learning a new position. I know it's not gospel to say Will Dawkins and Brian Keefe are high on Bub Carrington. Of course they're high on him. That's not going to make you say, wow, okay, if he said it, we're good. The GM is always going to say they have high hopes for their player. But the reason I believe that we can have some hope here in Bub Carrington is just comparative to what he did last year and what his skills are as an NBA player. It's a little bit disheartening to see the way the fan base had turned on him a little bit throughout the season. I know he was playing pretty poorly, but this is a Wizards team that's trying to develop. They want a player to work through those struggles. And ultimately, if you're the Wizards right now, you're in a tanking spot. You're not actively trying to win games. You're trying to pick at the top of this draft. You're going to go out there and let your young players develop. And whether the results are good or not, it's kind of irrelevant in the situation. You want to see positive momentum, positive development from these guys. And maybe the last couple weeks is signifying that Bub Carrington's going to start to make some of those strides you expected in your number 2. But I think there's no reason to like go out and get another option at point guard right now, although it is an issue. And I know like not having the peer one on the roster, people would say like maybe that's holding people back offensively from developing. But I think guys are just kind of rising above it in a way, and it's going to make them that much better when they do have that option in a year where they are trying to compete. Because, like, think about the strides Keyshawn George has made this year. I know he's played some point guard for this team, but his ability to create his own shot has gotten a lot better because he's had to do it himself. Alex SARR, he's had the highest usage rate on the team. He's had to create his own shot a ton. And it kind of just gives me confidence saying going forward, okay, like next year, when you're expecting to take that next step going forward, and if you do have a different point guard on the roster, whether you go out and acquire one or you have someone in the draft or Bub develops into what you want, like the potential is limitless for a lot of these players and what they can do offensively because they're doing this without the one on the roster right now. So I kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I remember after that Cleveland game when he had 27 and 8, I tweeted out that the Bub haters have to be quiet tonight. They have to take off, and rightfully so. Everyone, everyone, every Wizards fan was attacking the kid. And like I mentioned, he is a kid. He is a guy who needs some time to develop. We see what we saw from last season, and we're gonna see glimpses of that throughout this season, and hopefully more in the second half of the season. But for me, Ben, I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to, and this might be going a little off topic, but when it comes to being which Wizard I'm most concerned about, it's not even Bub Carrington. Even though he was playing that poorly, I have to point to Bilal Coulibaly, Ben. I love Bilal. I love what he does, what he gives you defensively. But the concerns, availability, in and out of the lineups. If this is a common theme that we're going to see throughout this season, then the extension talks, that's something that you have to factor in. And offensively, the inconsistency at taking a lot of shots, only that 6 mark, he loves that threshold at six shots a game.
Yeah.
I'm worried about that. I really am. And that combination, the fact that you are the first pick in the Will Dawkins era, as much as people want to look at Bub Carrington and say, oh, he's terrible, assign him to the G League, if Bilal Coulibaly is that guy and he can't stay on the court, at what point can you... I don't get me wrong, I love the defensive, how he ended the game defensively against Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then Giannis wants to trade out of Milwaukee. I love that. I love that Bilal. But if it's a case that we're going to see time and again where he's on the court, he's off the court, at some point it's hindering also the development of the other young guys on this team because people thrive off his defensive ability. And my main point is, going back to the main point, don't be worried so much about Bub. I would put more Bilal when it comes to concern, but I don't know. What's your take on that?
That's interesting you bring it up. And in terms of Bilal's availability, like, it's certainly been an issue because the amount of games he's missed this year, the amount of games he's missed in his career, I think rightfully so. Like, people can be concerned about that going forward and, like, saying, well, if you're going to get into extension talks with him, like, what is that going to look like? I don't think he's going to be demanding, like, a major contract or anything like that at this point. Like, that doesn't seem realistic at that point, so I don't necessarily worry too much about that. I think he does get an extension with this organization, for being honest, unless there's some kind of blockbuster trade where Washington trades him away to acquire a point guard or something else at some point in the summer. Maybe that'd be the only possibility where I don't see that happening, but maybe it's like a situation where they sign him to a team-friendly deal, see how it works out from there, and then trade him moving forward if they don't like what they see moving forward from there. Because, kind of similar situation that they had with Denny. Like, they got him on a super team-friendly contract there. He played at the highest level of his career, and then they traded him in that situation because they were ready to start their own thing and restart the timeline, I guess. But
I will say, though, I think Denny's game, sorry to cut you off, but I think Denny's game was offensively a lot more polished compared to Bilal at this time.
Oh, for sure.
So it's kind of like they have they're complete opposites. Denny's game offensively, we loved it. Defensively, there was some concerns if you wanted to point out some flaws. But Bilal, it's defensively, we know he's there, but offensively and availability.
And I think with Bilal, though, the thing that's good about his availability in terms of his injuries, that a lot of them have been contact-related injuries, which are a little more fluky, I guess, if you will. I don't know if that necessarily means, like, he's not actually injury-prone, because I think it's be kind of hard to say that he's not injury-prone right now, given the amount of time he's missed. But if it were, like, these situations where every time he touched the court, like, he had strained I know he had the calf thing earlier in the year, but I think the Wizards have been very precautionary about the calf-related stuff like they were with SARR. This year they did the same thing with Bilal because I think of all the Achilles injuries we're seeing around the NBA, they take those very seriously, which is good to see. There's not a lot of pressure. You're not that worried about people playing a super big amount right now, but like there is an expectation you stay on the court enough to like really get the sample size, collect all the data points they need to see a guy. And Bilal, in the minutes he's played, he's been great defensively, as you said, but he hasn't shot the basketball well. He's going to have to get better at that whenever he does come back, and he's going to have to prove that he can stay available, he can be on the court and be an asset for this team, because I think defensively he's awesome. He's great, and like I'd love to see the future of this Wizards team with Bilal as like a bona fide defensive piece you have, whether he's starting for you or coming off the bench as like a chess piece. I think there's a really high possibility you could see Bilal playing on this team for a super long time and hopefully being a part of some playoff caliber teams. But he's got to be available, and he's got to improve a little bit as a three-point shooter. You got a guy in Jameer Watkins that you drafted that's kind of that defensive key guy. He's much older though. The Bilal is the thing, even though
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, because he's 24 years old. They took a flyer on a guy to see kind of what he had. They're trying to mold his three-point shot as well. But the door is open for Bilal to really like get the keys and move forward with this franchise. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles the availability stuff going forward. And I think we're expecting to get him back in the next week to 10 days is what Dawkins said yesterday. So hopefully we see him very soon.
It would be nice because to have him the second game against San Antonio, I know him and Wemby are good friends. And I remember coming out of the draft, so many people calling Bilal Wemby's teammate instead of calling him Bilal Coulibaly. So just funny to think about.
That is that's almost like disrespectful in a way, but Wemby is that good that I kind of understand it. I don't even really think that's like a Wizard slight because Wemby is that insane. Let's talk a little bit about Wemby actually. Wizards Spurs tomorrow. Let's talk about it when we come back. You ever feel like your money just disappears each month? It happens fast. A few subscriptions here, an impulse buy there, and suddenly the numbers in your bank account don't match the number in your head. Rocket Money helps you get clarity, track every dollar, and stay in control of your finances. Because managing your money shouldn't feel like a second job. Rocket Money does the heavy lifting for you, so you can save more and stress less. Rocket Money finds subscriptions that you forgot you were paying for and it helps you clean them up quickly. Seeing all your spending on one dashboard makes it easier to understand where your money is going. I like how Rocket Money automatically builds budgets based on past spending, and it keeps you on track without having to overthink it and put it into like Excel or whatever. The bill alerts and spending notifications help you catch small things before they turn into massive expenses. Having the app finds good times to save each month, and it keeps you consistent with your financial goals. Take control of your finances and cancel your unwanted subscriptions with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com locked on today. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. rocketmoney.com/locked on. Before we get into the game tomorrow between Washington and San Antonio, I just want to put it out there that I'm thinking of Victor Wembanyama and his family right now after what happened yesterday in the NBA Cup game. Wemby lost his grandmother, so my condolences go out to him, and it's admirable that he went out there and tried to perform his best in an NBA Cup game. Ultimately, the Knicks get it done, but hope Wemby can kind of recover from this and move forward with his NBA career because he's such a special talent. So that was very tough to see yesterday, him get really emotional in the press conference.
Yeah, it was tough. And same with me, my condolences as well. It's hard going out there and performing when you lose a close one. And we didn't know much of it until after the game when he was in tears in the post-game conference. A guy like Wembanyama, there is a possibility. I had so many of my friends tell me, Ben, if he can stay healthy, this is a guy who can go down as a top 5 player in NBA history. And there were some concerns with him being that tall, that frame. But, I mean, his rookie season, he was hooping out there. And then the whole blood clot situation, I was hoping that this wasn't a thing to alter his career. And, I mean, I understand they lost to the Knicks. And the Knicks right now, Ben, they look like they could be the team that could run the table in the Eastern Conference. But we'll see how everything goes out with them in Detroit. The Spurs, I still think they maybe make a trade at the deadline to get another key piece, but they have some nice pieces with Dylan Harper. I mean, how nice would it have been to get Dylan Harper here in D.C.? I love Trey Johnson, but, man, he would have fulfilled that point guard position here. Champagne's a nice piece as well. De'Aaron Fox is still solid, can give you 20. But Wembanyama, there is no way. I mean, look at the Thunder, one of the best defensive teams in NBA history. They had no answer to limit his play, and I tweeted it out, Ben. I think it was not too long ago where I said, if Alex Sarr is not playing this game, what do you think the Wizards could do defensively to limit Wemby? And the Wizards Muse, the guy that set up the great trade mock idea for the Cavs and Darius Garland, he just said, pray. That's it. And I was like, that's probably the right answer.
I mean, that probably is the right answer. I'm trying to pull up the exact stats here for the Spurs as a team. I want to see what their points in the paint look like compared to other teams around the NBA. I'll work on getting that in a second, because if the points in the paint is really high, that is tough for the Wizards to stop. And the points in the paint are going to be high because you have Wemby out there every single night. On nights where the Wizards have really gotten crushed badly, they've given up so many points in the paint. And we know that Alex Sarr has defended so many shots at the rim this year, and you're not even going to have him available tomorrow, most likely. We haven't got the injury report yet, but based on what Dawkins said yesterday, I wouldn't expect Alex Sarr to be available for this game. Hopefully you get him back early next game. Or not next game, sorry, next week. It's a big ask for Marvin Bagley and Tristan Vukcevic, who we know has his defensive struggles as well early on in his career here, to go out there and stop that. And I don't know how effective Wemby is going to be given his personal situation. I know he didn't look great last night because of that situation, and who knows? Maybe we'll see whether or not he's playing. I'd expect him to play, I guess, because he played yesterday, but maybe the stakes were a little bit different because of the NBA Cup thing, so I'll have to monitor that situation as we move throughout the day. But you can't ever underestimate what Victor Wembanyama is going to do on the floor, what Dylan Harper is going to do on the floor. Like, those guys can beat you themselves. Stephon Castle as well, who's been amazing this year once again. Like, him and SARR have really solidified themselves as the two best players from that 2024 draft class, which is really intriguing to see. And I'm going to be bummed out for a lot of reasons if you don't see SARR playing in this game, AB. Like, to see him and Castle both out there, to see Wemby and SARR, Bilal and SARR. Like, there's a lot of great storylines to this game that we could have, but I think we're going to end up missing out on plenty of them. But hopefully the storyline, the headline that'll come out on Friday morning is Wizards compete toe-to-toe with Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. Like, maybe that'll be the headline we get. Maybe Bub Carrington has another really nice performance. That'd be ideal.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying there's any way to stop the kid. Maybe send a double team, but he'll find a way to find the open shooter. But you just do not want to see a Victor Wembanyama just completely dominate you. This is a Wizards team defensively that we're already giving up the most points in the NBA, around 120 to 130. Victor Wembanyama can easily give you 50, and he had his career high last year against the Wizards. And I always go back to the fact that we were one ball away from him, and it was the whole idea of tanking for Wemby. I still remember. And San Antonio, with their history of these legendary players, with Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Kawhi Leonard, it was perfect. He was in a perfect situation with Greg Popovich. And I think without Alex Sarr, it is tough. Marvin Bagley, we'll see what he can do. He's been hooping as of recently these past couple of games. Tristan Vukcevic, as much as I love TV, Ben, his offensive game, defensively, I mean, because TV is like 7'1", and Wemby got like 4 or 5 inches. I'm convinced he's like 7'6", 7'7". There's no. I remember at one point he was listed at 7'3", 7'4".
What did you just say?
I was about to say 6'7" his height, but at one point I remember people were saying that he was 7'2", 7, but he stood next to Zach Edey at one point. I saw on social media he's like 4 inches taller than him, and Zach Edey's like 7'3", and I'm like, the math is not mathing here.
The NBA is weird about how they list people's heights. Like, remember the conspiracy, like, for our entire life about, like,
Kevin
KD's?
Durant? Yeah, that's what I always go back to. The whole Joel Embiid photo.
KD, like, listed at 6'9" his whole career, but he's, like, actually 7'1" or something like that.
Kevin Durant is the only dude I know, the only man I know that would lie about being shorter than his listed height. Everyone else, you got to add at least 1 or 2 inches.
KD is just a wild dude. Like, that's the best way you can classify it, is like Kevin Durant is simply just different. There are not any other people in this world that are like Kevin Durant. He is one of the most unique individuals. For somebody that's like an all-time great in a prospective professional sport, like, he is the most unique person I've like maybe ever seen.
Is he legendary, Ben? I don't know if you saw the sound of that guy was like, Kevin Durant is not legendary, and then it's so funny. He lists off all these stats about him not being able to be clutch and naming these other legends. But sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. I don't know how much baseball you follow, Abdullah. You ever heard of someone named Zach Greinke?
Nope.
Okay, so Zach Greinke was a legendary baseball pitcher. He was with the Houston Astros. He was actually the starting pitcher of Game 7 of the World Series when the Nationals beat the Astros, and he basically blanked us the whole game until the 7th inning when they pulled him, and the Nats had a huge home run from Howie Kendrick to win that game. But Zach Greinke was one of the strangest individuals to ever exist. He quit baseball to mow lawns at one point because he felt like it. He also called a pitcher's meeting between him and his catcher to discuss a fantasy football trade. And I always classify KD as that category of just really unique individual, but super good at their respective sport. I know this is so off topic from what we were talking about, but this is kind of what happens at the end of the episodes. Who's even listening at this point? I know a lot of y'all are still listening right now. So if you hate me bringing up a baseball player, I'm sorry.
No, I think it's great. We gotta incorporate this content, especially since our team is 4-20. I'll say it again, 4-20. But
yeah, you can only say so much sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say also Kevin Durant. As much as people want to give him slack for how he handled the situation of leaving OKC, winning on that Warriors team, creating the best NBA team in history, I always go back to the fact that when you talk about pure hoops, Kevin Durant is one of those guys that is just simply the definition of a bucket. The way he plays the game, it's just so fluid.
You know what? In the way the NBA is now, where a lot of guys seem to prioritize getting the bag over winning, at this point, I kind of respect it. He was trying to win. He wanted to get rings. And
100%.
I can't say the same for everybody at this point in the NBA. I think there are certain guys that don't care that much about winning championships, which I think is insane. So at least KD had those priorities straight. Now, it was a soft move. I understand it, but at least he had the right priorities in mind, at least from what I would think. I'm trying to win championships. I want the Wizards to win a championship. I don't care about the money, the stats, whatever. Let's win. Let's win it all. And that was KD's mentality.
I'm telling you, if he came to DC that year, Ben, I think we would have won the Eastern Conference.
I mean, I think we would have had just as good a shot as anybody because, let me see, that same exact year was the John Wall year where we were a game away from the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah, they beat LeBron. They definitely beat LeBron. I mean, Beal and Wall,
as John Wall said,
they're convinced they would have beat LeBron anyway. Now I don't know about that. I think they would have given him a pretty good series. Beat LeBron though in his prime to get to the finals that year. I don't know about all that, Chief. But
dude, LeBron, by the way, is so checked out. Did you see him practicing his swing on the sidelines?
Yeah, he's getting into golf. he's getting into golf. All right, we've completely derailed the show, this segment, whatever it is. So I'm just gonna cap it out there. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. For your second, check out the Locked On NBA Fantasy Basketball Podcast, where Josh Lloyd keeps you up to date. Reminder, Wizards Spurs tomorrow at 8 p.m. in San Antonio. We'll have the coverage for you post-game here on the Locked On Wizards podcast, where we always give you a chance to let it all out. For my co-host, Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober, DC Family. Talk to you tomorrow.